Hi, so today I'd like to show you a little bit about how to use some things called control elements. Okay, so sometimes we want to use a switch, but it's not necessary for it to physically exist in our simulation that we build or whatever we've created. So I'm going to show you today how to put a switch on your screen that you could use, like if you wanted to put a start switch in a program and a stop switch, how you could do that without physically wiring a switch. Alright, so I have my new program here. I have RoboPro open, everything's connected, those kinds of things. So what I'd like you to do is, let's first look at this new box operating elements, okay? And if we go to control elements, you see here we have 4 buttons and we have 2 sliders. We have a horizontal and a horizontal. That's a nice word, a horizontal and a vertical. But I'm going to put in 2 buttons today, okay? And I can use these just like switches. Alright, so I've put in a red button and a green button. Remember that in almost everything in RoboPro, when I right click on it, I get a dialog box. So the button text, okay? I'm going to use these as start and stop on a motor. So I'm going to call this one start. Okay, I can edit the button color, the text color. I can make it a push button switch. Once I make it a push button switch, I could make it initially pressed. I'll show you how that changes later. So I'm going to click OK, and now I have a start button. I'm going to name this stop. Again, there are choices here I could customize. So I have a button I've named start and one I've named stop. Now to access those, I'm going to need to go to inputs and outputs and get panel input. Okay, now panel input, I'm going to need 1 for each button, and this is how I access them. Alright, so when I right click on panel input, you see the names of my 2 buttons come up, and I'm going to click start for the first one and say OK, and I'm going to right click and click start for the stop for the second one and click OK. So you see that this says it's in the main program. It's the button that's named start, this one's named stop, okay? And these items, the panel input, are both tan. So what does that mean when something's tan? It needs to be connected to something else tan. So what I'm going to do is get a variable and tie a variable to each one of those. Now remember, variables are linked by names. So when I want to use this variable, I just use the same name. Now, I'm going to name this variable something that means something to me. I could name it start, or I could name it something else. Just to show you that it doesn't have to match my button, I'm going to name it something else. I'm going to do go here and click OK. I'm going to click this one and I'm going to call it no go. And so now I have 2 buttons and they are linked to these variables. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like by running my program now. So initially you see my buttons, the values here are both 0. Neither button's pressed. So when I press this button, you see that go changes to 1. Now I'm pressing and holding. When I release, it immediately changes back. Let's check start as well, and it immediately changes back. I'm going to do stop. Alright, and then I could also change these to be push button switches. Okay, a push button switch, when I click it, is going to stay clicked until I click it again. It'll stay depressed until I click it again. And see, I can even make this one initially pressed. So I'm going to go ahead and you see how that's recessed now because I made it initially pressed. So I'm going to go ahead and start this simulation again and let you see. Alright, so I made stop initially pressed and you see that it has changed to a 1 by default. I'm going to click it and it changes back. Now I'm not holding, but you see it stays depressed now. If I click and I'm letting go of start, it stays pressed. and now this one is a go, and so I'll click that and it stays pressed until I click it again. So that's the difference in a push button switch. Okay, let me go ahead, I'm going to change these both back to the way they were. Okay, so they're just a regular momentary contact switch. And I'm going to write a program that depends on the inputs for these two buttons to be closed loop. They're going to be my control elements. So everything starts with the green man. And the first thing I want to do is I don't want the program to go anywhere. And it's just going to turn a motor on and off. I don't want anything to happen until I press the start button. So I need to make a decision based on that start button, and the value of that start button is tied to this variable go. Alright, so I need a branch. Okay, but I don't need I1 a digital, I don't need I1 an analog branch, I need a branch associated with a variable. So I go to branch, and there's the appropriate command for me. Alright, so I have a tan thing here, and I need to tie a tan thing to it. So let me get a variable, and I want that one to be based on the variable go when I press the start button. Alright, now in my branch right now it says is A greater than 0. Well, the way I've set it up, remember, go is going to be 0 to start with, so when I click it, it'll change to 1, and then it would be greater than 0. So that evaluation is fine for me. And I'm going to click here. Alright, so this is going to just loop back and wait and wait and wait until I click the start button. Okay, if it's yes, let's turn the motor on clockwise. Alright, and then once I turn it on clockwise, I just want it to run until I click the stop button. So what I'm going to do is go back to branch, and I want to get this decision branch. Okay, now I want this to be based on my stop button, so I need another variable to link those. And that one's going to be called no-go. Remember, that's the variable name I tied to the output of that stop button. Okay, and just to show you this could be done another way, that starts out 0, right? I'm going to change it to equals 1. Okay, so when A equals 1, now I'm going to just continue to loop here and wait, alright, until that switch is pressed. Once it is, I want to stop the motor. Okay, and then I want to go back to the top and wait to press the start again. So when I run this program, when I press start, the motor will start to run. When I press stop, it'll stop, and then it'll just loop back to wait to run all over again. So let's try this and see what happens. Okay, we hit start. Now it's sitting there, this one's red, so I can see that this is where it's sitting, waiting. It's moving through this little loop right here over and over and over again. And as soon as I press start, it's going to move on to through here and to here, which means the motor will continue to run clockwise. Right now I do see it's waiting, 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 waiting. It's sitting right here, waiting, 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 waiting for me to press for the value of no-go to change. Well, no-go is tied to what? It's tied to the stop button. So as soon as I press stop, it's going to advance through here, stop the motor, and move back to waiting there. So I hit stop, and magically the motor stopped, and we're back here waiting again. So see, as soon as I press start again, we're off, and now we're waiting here. So I hope this gives you an idea kind of what these things look like and how you can use them to your benefit in programming.